This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
So this week was the Parsha of Kabbalas HaTorah. And in Kabbalas HaTorah, do we have it over here? No. Kabbalas HaTorah, we have how many commandments are there? Anybody know? 5? 10. 10 commandments. Asaras HaDibros. One of them is Loi Tignov, Loi Signov. You're not allowed to steal. Stealing is a terrible avera. But besides stealing, Loi Signov means not just don't steal, but be erlich, be emesdik. In business, it means do things that when they seem slimy, you stay away from that. And that's a very important message. We're young over here, but we get older when we have businesses or we work, whatever it is that we do, we always have to stay very far away from anything that might be geneva, stealing. We have to always be erlich and emesdik. Reb Pesach Kron says an incredible story. There was once a man whose name was Reb Shlomo Malik. And this goes back around 30 years ago, 1994. And he was trying to become a computer technician, working with computers, fixing computers. And he went to a company that you probably didn't hear of. It's called Toshiba. And that's a big, big computer company. And he was getting trained by them. And it was the last test. The last test was to take a laptop, take a computer, completely take the entire computer apart, and then to put the entire computer back together to work perfectly. And this took many, many hours. So what happened was, this is how it looked. Sometimes in school, you sit down in school, and everyone would do math or we listen to Rabbi teaching Chumash. But this was a very interesting classroom. In this classroom, there was tons and tons of students, everyone with their own computer, and there was a special plastic container that when you took apart the computer, you put all the pieces back into it, and then you rebuild it. So, it took many, many hours to take it apart and put it back together. And what happened was that it took 5 hours for all the other students. This Shlomo Malik was the only Yid in the entire class. And it took about 5 hours for everybody to take it apart and put it back together. For some reason, Shlomo Malik realized that in the container, after you put all the screws, every last screw had to be put back into the computer. But he had a big issue, a big dilemma. That there was one screw that he could not find a place to put back into the computer. And he was very worried because everyone else already finished. And he felt so silly. He would feel so embarrassed if he was the only one that have to take apart the entire computer again and rebuild it to find this one tiny little screw. But he said, this is the job. I have to take apart the entire thing and rebuild and make sure everything has a place. And if not, I can't get the certificate. I'm not going to be able to pass the test. And so while everyone else finished, he was embarrassed. He took apart the entire computer all over again the second time, and he rebuilt it. But guess what happened? The second time he rebuilt the computer, he had the same problem again. There was no place for the screw. And at this point, Shlomo was very embarrassed. And the teacher said, okay, everybody, it's time to hand in your computers. And everyone handed it in, all finished. And Shlomo didn't hand it in. And the teacher said, can I please have quiet in the class? It seems that Shlomo couldn't figure it out. Everyone please turn your attention to Shlomo. And he got very nervous. He was very embarrassed, very scared what's going to happen. He's not going to get the certification. He's not going to get a job. This was all a waste of money and time. He was very nervous. And the teacher said in public, in front of all the other students, Shlomo, Mr. Malik, can I ask you a question? Why are you the only one that doesn't have a built computer? Everyone else is able to do it. You have the training, you have the knowledge. Why can you build a computer? And he said, well, You told us we have to have a place for every last screw, every last... And I couldn't find a place for this screw. And his heart is pounding and he's nervous. And the teacher looked at the entire class and said, did anyone else have this issue? And they all looked and said no. And now he was really embarrassed. He was the only one that couldn't figure it out. And then the teacher went over to Mr. Malik and said, please raise your hand in front of the entire class. And he says, I want to recognize and publicly appreciate your honesty. He said, I just want to let you all know that there was an extra screw in every single one of your computers, and you all lied, and Shlomo Malik was the only one, the Yid, the Jew in the class, that was able to be honest enough, that had what we call integrity. And he made a huge Kiddush Hashem, and he was very matzliach in this field. And he walked out, instead of being nervous and embarrassed and ashamed, he was proud, he was successful, and made a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. When he thought everyone else was looking at him and laughing, he was the one who was ultimately laughing at the end. And that's how you really are matzliach. When you want to make money in life, when you want to support your family, whatever it is, never forget that when you have an option to be truthful, or chas v'shalom, there's loy signov, you always stay emistic, and Hashem is going to take care. We will all be zeichel when times are hard, and we're not sure what to do, and we're thinking we're going to be embarrassed. Hashem says, loy tignov, don't steal. Whatever's emistic, do that, and Hashem is going to take care of the rest, and give you hatzlacha and bracha. May we all see that and be matzliach. Good tavach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.